Hi everybody, Miss Becky here from Upper Marion Township Library, and I'm coming to you today with a couple more book talks to share. Just sharing some of my favorite books, some great children's books that you can read at home now, while you might have a little extra time to read with your kids. So just a couple of notes before we get started. All of the books that we've been talking about at our book talks are available on our library website as either ebooks and or audiobooks so that you can access them from home. If you haven't done that before, you can go on the library website and you can get on with Overdrive. There's a link right on the library website that says ebooks. And if you click that, you'll be able to log on with your library card number. There's also an app you can use on your phone. It's called Libby, and it's very easy to use. You just download it, enter your library card number, and then you'll be able to search for these books or any other books that you might be interested in listening to or reading yourself. Some of the books do have wait lists if somebody else is currently using them, just like you would with a regular physical book if you came to the library. So if you see a book that you're interested in, but it's not available right now, make sure to put yourself on that wait list because then you'll be able to get it as soon as it is available. But we have lots of good stuff that's there right now. So you can find something to read right away if you're looking for it. I wanted to mention something before I get into my actual books that I picked to book talk about today. I did want to mention one book that you may already know, but that is Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, one of my absolute favorite books of all time. And I wanted to mention this one specifically because Overdrive for the whole month of April is currently making the first Harry Potter book available as both an ebook and audiobook for as many people who want it as possible. So that means that there's no wait list for it. If you want to read Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone or you want to listen to the audiobook, you can do that right now, no matter how many other people are doing the same thing. So if you've read the books before and you want to maybe reread them, or you haven't read them yet and now might be a good first time, maybe you want to share them with your kids for the first time, this first one is available. We do have all of the other Harry Potter books too, all available as ebooks and audiobooks, but depending on who else might be borrowing them, there may be a little bit of a wait for those right now. But Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, month of April, is a great time to read that one or reread that one if you've read them before, but maybe love them as much as I do. All right, so today I'm going to get into a couple of books that I want to talk to you about. I've got 4 different children's books here to share with you for a variety of ages, different topics. So let's get started. The first one is one of the best books I've read in the last couple of years, and it's called The War That Saved My Life by Kimberly Brubaker Bradley. It is a historical fiction novel. It takes place during World War II, but it's a little bit different than a lot of other historical fiction from World War II in that it doesn't take place in Germany or America. It takes place in the UK. So a little bit of a different perspective. You might not have as much understanding of what was going on in England during that time. So it's really interesting to see how it was affecting their country. Let me read you the back cover to give you a little bit of an idea about the summary. Ada is 10 years old and has never left her one-room apartment. Her cruel mother is too humiliated by Ada's twisted foot to let her outside. So when her little brother Jamie is shipped out of London to escape the war, Ada sneaks out to join him. Ada and Jamie are forced upon Susan Smith, a woman used to having only herself to care for. At Susan's home, Ada teaches herself to ride a pony, learns to read, and watches for German spies. She even begins to trust Susan, and Susan begins to love Ada and Jamie. But in the end, will their bond be enough to hold them together through wartime? Or will Ada and her brother fall back into the hands of their mother? And that's the story. So this one's really interesting because while it does involve the war and a lot of the effects of that, it's really about the characters and what they go through. And this book, Kimberly Brubaker Bradley, has created some of the most interesting, complex characters that I've ever read about in any book, if it's middle grade children's book, adult book. Seriously, if you are an adult and you like historical fiction, I would recommend giving this one a read. Just really great characters, really fascinating topics, really interesting things to have some discussions about. I think it's perfect for middle school age students. The main character is 10, so you could go a little lower if you have an advanced reader, but it is a little bit on the longer side, so depending on what level they're reading at and what they enjoy to read. But I think anyone from like 10 and up could really enjoy this book. And I know sometimes it's hard to get kids into historical fiction a little bit, but I used this book as a title for one of my literary lunch book discussions a few years ago with my middle school kids, and I wasn't sure what they would think about it, and they loved it. I was so excited that the kids actually liked this book as much as I did, and they were begging me to do a discussion on the sequel the following year, which we did then do. There is a sequel to this book if you read it and you really enjoy it. It's called The War I Finally Won, and it takes place after the war is over and how they kind of adjust to their new life after that. So highly, highly recommend this. I've probably read it about 3 times now. The first time I actually listened to it on audiobook. The audio is incredibly well done. So if you prefer to listen, then that's an option as well. So take a look at The War That Saved My Life. All right, our next book is an older one, classic, but one that I think lots of kids will enjoy, and that title is Frindle by Andrew Clements. So if you're not familiar with it, I will read to you a little bit about the summary. Is Nick Allen a troublemaker? He really just likes to liven things up at school, and he's always had plenty of great ideas. When Nick learns some interesting information about how words are created, suddenly he's got the inspiration for his best plan ever, the Frindle. Who says a pen has to be called a pen? Why not call it a Frindle? Things begin innocently enough as Nick gets his friends to use the new word. Then other people in town start saying Frindle. Soon the school is in an uproar, and Nick has become a local hero. His teacher wants Nick to put an end to all this nonsense. But the funny thing is, Frindle doesn't belong to Nick anymore. The new word is spreading across the country, and there's nothing Nick can do to stop it. So this is a good elementary school level read, 3rd, 4th grade. If you like just an interesting type school story with some fun characters. It's definitely funny, got some comedic stuff to it. But really, really interesting concept and message about the power of words and our language and what we call things and how language can evolve and grow. Just because this has always been called a pen, if everybody starts calling it a Frindle, does that make Frindle a real word? And not only is it about words, but also just about the power of kids and students and what they can do. This is a kid in elementary school who does this and kind of changes the way that people think about this word. So really neat to kind of show kids the sort of power that they have when it comes to language and words, and also just a funny, silly sort of read too. So a lot of good stuff in this one. Like I said, it's kind of a classic. It's an older one. It was, let's see when it was written. Copyright is 1996. So another interesting thing that you could talk about with this book too is that this all happened before the internet was super commonplace. So the power of this word to really grow and spread happened without widespread internet communication. So just another kind of interesting aspect of this book. Okay. The next one I have is another middle grade novel. This one is called Better Nate Than Ever by Tim Federle. It is a middle grade novel about a boy who grows up in, I think it's the Pittsburgh area, kind of middle of nowhere, Pennsylvania, and gets the chance to go to New York to audition for a Broadway play. So very different, kind of opportunity than he's had in his town before. So I'll read you a little bit about this one. Nate Foster has big dreams. His whole life, Nate has wanted to star in a Broadway show. Heck, he'd settle for seeing a Broadway show. But how is Nate supposed to make his dreams come true when he's stuck in Jenksburg, Pennsylvania, where no one except his best pal Libby appreciates a good show tune? With Libby's help, Nate plans a daring overnight escape to New York. There's an open casting call for E.T. the Musical, and Nate knows this could be the difference between small-town blues and big-time stardom. Now's his chance to explore the city, wow the casting director, outsing the competition, and hop the last bus home before anyone notices he's gone. No big deal, right? But as exciting as it is, the Big Apple can be big trouble. And if Nate isn't careful, he'll be lucky if he makes it through Times Square, much less the audition. So if you're into theater, if you have kids that are into theater, this is a really fun theater kid book. There's a lot of references to musicals and plays, and it is hilarious. This book is so funny. Tim Federle is a great comedic writer. He's a great writer. I also listened to this one on audiobook, and he narrates the audiobook himself. Again, really well done. Highly recommend that. And Tim Federle's written some other things too, but in particular right now, if you happen to have Disney Plus and you've been watching any of the TV shows that are available, the original shows, they have a show right now called High School Musical, the series, and that is actually produced and written by Tim Federle. So if you've watched that before and you're into that sort of thing, this is the same person who wrote this book. This one's also part of a series. There's 2 other books after this one. 5, 6, 7, Nate, and Nate Expectations are the 2 others that come after it. So great 3-book series. Definitely recommend that one. All right, and the last book I'm going to talk with you today about is called Ghost by Jason Reynolds. Jason Reynolds written a lot of really good stuff. He's got some award winners out there, and Ghost is a very good middle grade or even upper elementary novel. It's on the shorter end for a middle grade novel, under 200 pages. And so it's also a good choice if you have kids who are more into sports books or maybe a little bit of reluctant readers, want a male main character, a main character of color. Lots of good things going for this book here with that. So again, here's the summary. Running, that's all that Ghost, real name Castle Crenshaw, has ever known. But never for a track team. Nope, his game has always been ball. But when Ghost impulsively challenges an elite sprinter to a race and wins, the Olympic medalist track coach sees he has something. Crazy natural talent. Thing is, Ghost has something else. A lot of anger and a past that he tries to outrun. Can Ghost harness his raw talent for speed and meld with the team, or will his past finally catch up with him? So really interesting kind of good character story, main character kind of coming to terms with a lot of the difficulties that he's been dealing with in his life. Very interesting, both from just his everyday dealing with the other kids and joining the track team, as well as some of the home problems he has and things that he's had to deal with growing up. So, this is a pretty quick read, but a really good one. It's also part of a series. There's, I think, 3 other books. Each, there's one group of kids on the track team that he becomes close with, that become his friends, and so they each get a book later on in the series. So after Ghost, there's also Patina, Sunny, and Lou each have a story. So if you read this one and you like it, it means there's also opportunities for more books to read after that. All right, so those are my recommendations for today. I hope you've enjoyed hearing about some of them. These ones today are some of my absolute favorite books that I've read, especially a few that were written or came out in the past few years. So I hope that you get a chance to read them. Maybe you'll enjoy them as much as I did. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your afternoon. And we will be back. Miss Laura will be back with you tomorrow to do a story time at 10:30. So that's the next time we'll be live on the Facebook page for the library. All right, good to see you all. Bye.